Shalom Aleichem and welcome everyone as we have the zechut to prepare together for Shabbat, Parshat Kedoshim. Baruch Hashem, today I was at a break this morning. I want to wish a big mazel tov to Ephraim Yanayev and family. May he see much nachat from this child and from all his children, and may we all be zochet to see much nachat from all our children. Parashat Kedoshim is a very special parasha. The parasha is filled with mitzvot. And Rashi tells us that since there's such important mitzvot, Moshe Rabbeinu collected all the Jewish people together to give them over all these special mitzvot. And it says right in the beginning, V'amarta Elohem kedoshim to you should be kodesh, ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokeichem, because I am kodesh, I am Hashem. Ish imo ve'aviv tirau, a person, his mother and father, he should fear. Ve'et shabtotai tishmoru, ani Hashem Elokeichem. And my Shabbat you should watch, I am Hashem. So very interesting pasuk. The pasuk says, fear your mother and father, keep Shabbat, because I am Hashem. What's the connection? It's all in one pasuk. What's the connection? Fear your mother and father and keep Shabbat, because I am Hashem. So it's a very famous mashal from the Dubna Magid. I'm going to start to say the mashal right away. You're going to know this mashal. Everybody knows this mashal. Okay, so but it's good to hear something that you know again, to hear it again, to apply the lesson again. There were three good friends, and they were not the stam friends that hung out and stuff like that. They were friends who were in the pursuit of knowledge. They always wanted to know and grow and learn how to be better people. And one year, these three good friends got together and they said, this year, let us all split up. We're going to go somewhere and we're going to learn something special. And after a year, we're going to meet back together and we're going to share with each other. This is like obviously before the time of Facebook and TikTok and all these things, so you had to get together to really share the information. And that's what it's going to be. So each one of them went off to learn a special chachma, a special knowledge, a special something. And they went for a whole year. And after a year, exactly the day as they said, they came back to where their meeting place was. And each one was going to show his friends what they learned. So the first one went and he said, this whole year was studying by a special craftsman who taught me how to make a special telescope. Such a telescope that anywhere where I look, I can see far, far away. No matter how far it is, I can see there. Everyone was oohing and ahhing, very nice. They all look at it, took turns. And now the second friend had his chance and he said, I too spent the whole year by a special craftsman and I learned how to build a special wagon. It has a carriage that runs on a remarkable speeds, lightning speeds. All right, this is like a very, very fast car. And they all oohing and ahhing. Wow, wow. Everybody's like, shh. Then the third guy spoke up. The third guy said, well, this whole year I was studying by a world-renowned doctor who taught me the way to create a medicine that can cure any disease. And the whole year I was training how to make it, how to prepare it, how to do it. And now I know how to make a medicine that can cure anything. And each one was impressed by the other one's new wisdom, and they were all taking turns looking and trying the new stuff that they brought. And one of them was playing with the telescope, and he sees very far away there's a city that there's a lot of hustle and bustle moving around, and they're trying to see. People are sad there. So they look through the telescope, and they see a big what's it called, a billboard that says, the princess is sick. If anyone can please save the princess, the king will reward you with marrying the princess. And so they saw this, and everybody looks sad, looking to the palace. The king is crying, that's crying. They see the princess very sick. So the guy says, I have the medicine, I can probably cure her. And the other one said, I have the car. Jump into the car. So they all jumped into the car. They put the telescope in the car. They all jumped into the car. And they speedily arrived in this city. They come to the palace doors. And the three of them say, we're here to save the princess. We can do it. No, what does the king have to lose? He's looking for someone to help. He lets the three inside. And the one who was studying the medicine, he started to prepare the medication. And the first day he gave her a little to drink. She took whatever she could. And day after day, for a couple of weeks, he's giving her a little bit by little bit. And all of a sudden, her color comes back. She starts to talk. Her appetite comes back. She starts to walk. And after about a month, the princess is brand new, perfectly back to full health. The doctors are amazed. Everybody's amazed. So now, the king comes and said, listen, the reward for curing the princess was that the person who cures the princess would be able to marry the princess. But I don't know what to do with you three. All three of you were instrumental in my daughter's recovery. What? But only one can marry her. You can't have more than one man marrying a woman. So what to do? So each one started to say. The one with the telescope said, if I didn't see with my telescope, then we would never be here. It has to be me. I'm the whole reason why we're here. The other one said, shkoyach for your telescope. But if I didn't have my car, we never would get here. So it has to be me. And the third one said, if you had the telescope and you saw, and you had the car and you came, but you didn't have the medicine, why'd you come? What'd you see? Who would need it? So each one had a reason why they should marry the princess. So the king says, I don't know how to judge this. So I'm going to ask the princess herself. We're going to see what she says, who she wants to marry. And the princess said, listening to all three of you, I agree that the car and the telescope are very important. But that's in the past. As I live my life in the future, if chas shalom I get sick again, I'm not going to need the car. If I get sick again, I'm not going to need the telescope. It's not going to be of any benefit to me. But if I have the medicine is what's always going to keep me alive. The Gemara Masechet Yevamot says on this pasuk, a man, you shall fear his mother and father and keep my Shabbat. You're all obligated in my honor. Therefore, if a mother or father tells a child to transgress a prohibition in the Torah, to do something asur in the Torah, a person must not listen. Why? Because the parents are like the telescope and like the car. They brought us here. But what continues to give us life here? The body would still be here. No neshama, you have the body is still here. That's what the parents gave, right? The Talmud tells us the mother gives this, the father gives this, but the neshama comes from Hashem. The minute the neshama comes out, there's nothing left. For the future of our lives, it's all based on Hashem. There are three partners in creation of a person. A father, mother, and Hashem, and each one you have to give honor to. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that you need for every single moment of a person's entire life. Eventually, our parents will move on and we'll still be here. That's the way the world is. But who continues to be there with us and giving us life at every moment? That is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every moment in our lives is infused with life from Hashem. And as such, the pasuk says, let's fear your father and mother, but you have to watch my Shabbat, because I am Hashem. Because in the end of the day, your father's obligated in Hashem, your mother's obligated to serve Hashem, and you're obligated to serve Hashem, because all of life comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is I'm sure everybody heard this mashal. This is a very famous mashal, but a very, very good mashal as well to remember that lesson. Let's move on to another lesson in this week's parasha. In this week's parasha, we are taught to as follows. Betzedek tishpot amitecha. So this is chapter 19, the last three words of pasuk 15. Betzedik tishpot amitecha. With tzedek, with righteousness, shall you judge your fellows. What does this mean? The Gemara Shavuot on Daf Lamed tells us it has two meanings to what these words mean. Betzedik tishpot amitecha. The first is addressed to judges. Is that when a judge judges a case, he cannot be biased towards one. One defendant or plaintiff, whoever it is, can't be biased to one or trying to say this person already has. He has to treat them both, as we have in Pirkei Avot. Both of them are considered bad when they come in, and both are considered tzaddikim if they accept the din. At the end, that's the way you have to treat them both. You can't tell one to stand, one to sit, one to do, one like that. Everything has to be equal when dealing with it. The tzedek tishpot amitecha. Then the Gemara tells us another way of understanding what this means, and similar to what we have in Pirkei Avot as well. It means hevi dan et chavarecha lechaf zechut. That when you judge your fellow man, you have to judge them favorably. Lechaf zechut. According to the Rambam, the Sefer HaChinuch, and the Rabbeinu Yonah, this is a chiyuv deoraita to judge your fellow man. Exactly what the parameters of this is, we have to one day get into that. But there is a chiyuv in the Torah to judge our fellow man. Lekav zechut. Now, why is that? Why do we look at something? Why we have to judge a person? Betzedek tishpot amitecha. Why we have to judge our fellow favorably? The Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin, which we learned a few weeks ago on Daf Zayin, tells us, in order for a dayin, in order for a judge to judge a case, he has to have two things. First, he has to have the facts very clear. If he does not have the facts very clear, he cannot judge the case. Second, the Gemara says, you have to know the din, the halakha. Just like you know that your sister is forbidden to you, that's the same way you have to know the halakha of that din that you're paskening. That has to be that clear. Meaning, before you judge a case, you have to be able to know the facts of the case, as well as to know what the halakha of that case is. That's the way the Vilna Gaon explains the Gemara, that knowing the facts exactly as they're happen, and knowing precisely what the din is, that is the way a person has to, that's the way a judge has to judge the case. Rav Pam says the same applies when judging a person. And that's why you have to be judging the Kav Zechut. Why? Because first, a lot of times when we see something happening, we don't know clearly what exactly happened. A lot of times we come in the middle of the picture. So if you're coming in the middle of the picture, you don't know what happened exactly. So you don't know what happened exactly, you cannot say, Rashat Tzaddik, you don't know. You just came in the middle. And the same thing, a lot of times you see somebody do something, and you say, chutzpah, he's going against the Torah, he's going against this. But do you really know the exact halakha and all the parameters of that halakha and every single detail of it before you get angry at someone for what you think is a breach in a minhag or in a halakha? Do you really know what the minhag is, what the halakha is before you can do such a thing? Therefore, in order to be a dayan, you have to know the case clear and you have to know the din clear. Same thing before you judge somebody. You have to know what happened clearly, and you have to know what exactly do you think this person did wrong? Do you know the halachot of what you're getting all angry about? The Maharal says another interesting idea. So you know why we're unable to judge accurately? We simply do not have the tools that would enable us to assess each person's actions. Meaning we don't know what everybody's actually doing. Right? Rav Pam says this over here at the end. He says, why does it say betzedek tishpot amitecha? Why judge your fellow betzedek, with righteousness? It should say behesed tishpot amitecha. Judge your fellow kindly. Because you're telling me to judge him favorably, which means behesed lekav zechut. Pam says, no, that's not what it means, lekav zechut. Betzedek means, what betzedek means? Righteousness. You should get that. Because a lot of times we don't know why someone's doing something. The halacha is when someone passes away, you give him a hesped talking about him, you're allowed to embellish a little bit about what he does. Right? If he gave $100 tzedakah, for example, you can say he gave 1,000. Why can you say such a thing? Because you know he gave 100, but do you know everything else he did in his life? Do you know how many times he gave tzedakah when you didn't see when he gave and how much he gave? As such, you're allowed to say he gave more because he probably gave more. So Rav Pam says the same things over here. We can never assess what the person's actually doing. Therefore, it's not b'chesed, but it's b'tzedek, because really the person is probably doing a good action, and we don't understand it, so we think he's doing bad. Therefore, it's the kav zechut, but b'tzedek tishpot amitecha. That's the way the Maral explains it. And Rav Yitzchak Hutner says as follows: by its very essence, the act of judgment is not within the power of a human being. The Torah itself tells us that judgment is God's. It only belongs to God. And it even tells us when we are judging, when judges judge, Hashem is there with them in the Beit Din, because without Hashem, there's no true way to judge a person. Because we have no way to look into their heart, look into their mind, to see what they're actually doing. Therefore, we're obligated to judge every person favorably, because we really don't know what they really are doing. You might think they're doing something wrong, but really they're doing something very good. Only Hashem is the one who can actually look and see the truth. Rav Pam would say that if a person does, chas v'shalom, judge his fellow bad, say he's a rasha or something like that, he says you should know that what you're doing is worse than being a moser. You know what a moser is? A moser is somebody who goes and tells the government that Jews are doing certain things to get them in trouble. It's one of the worst things a person can do. Rav Pam says a person who judges his fellow badly is worse than a moser. Why?
Snitch.
Worse than a snitch. Why? Why is it worse? He says because in Shemayim, when you judge your fellow, the Midat HaDin comes out and also judges him based on your say. So you're setting up in Shemayim this guy to go to judgment, and you're coming with your saying, you're putting him in trouble. So it's worse than going to the government. The government only do X, Y, and Z. In Shemayim, they can do much worse. So a person has to be very careful when he speaks about another person. You're going to, Chas v'Shalom, put him into trouble in Shemayim. There's a famous Baal Shem Tov, that everybody knows this Baal Shem Tov. There's a Mishnah in Masechet Avot that says that Nifra'in min ha'adam midato v'shelo midato. They collect from a person with his knowledge and without his knowledge. What does that mean? They collect from him with his knowledge and without his knowledge. And another question, it says that on the day of judgment, we're going to face din v'heshbon, a ruling and an accounting. What does this mean as well? So the Baal Shem Tov answers these questions by describing what will happen in the future judgment. Listen to this. We will ascend to the heavens and they will say, Rabbi Yitzchak, we've been waiting for someone like you to come. We have a court case in the next room. Can you please sit on this court case? And this guy who just came to Shemayim says, me? You're waiting for me? He says, I'm not supposed to be a dayan in a Beit Din Shel Mala. They say, no, we'll be waiting for you. Here, take this talit, come inside, you're going to be a dayan in the Beit Din Shel Mala. He sits with other dayanim, and he's sitting there, and they bring the case. What's the case? There was Friday afternoon, and you can use any avenue you want, but here Rav Reisman uses the Avenue J in Flatbush, and someone was trying to pass, but a man needed to go into the store, so he parked his car. He double parked his car on a Friday afternoon in Avenue J and caused 30 people to suffer. This is the case in Shemayim. So right away, Rabbi Yitzchak is there. He's now a dayan in Shemayim. He says, double parked in Avenue J on a Friday? Throw the book at him. What type of chutzpah is this? How many people? Then they'll say to him, not only did he double park on Friday afternoon, when he got home, he yelled at his wife, and they played the video. He says, what a chutzpah, what an awful person, what a terrible husband, what an awful person. Throw him, put him into Gehenna. They finished the judging, And then the malachim turn to him and say, Atah ha'ish. You're the man that we're judging here. You're the person who double parked. You're the person who screamed at your wife. And he's going to say, Oi! Hashem says, this is what it means, Medato, Mishalom Medato. With your knowledge, they're going to judge you because they give you the case. And Mishalom Medato, because you didn't know that they were judging you. So now you're going to say, okay, but now you taught me this trick. So now when I'm come to Shemayim, and they're going to say, come into the case. And they say, look at the case. And I'm going to say, Avenue J, Friday afternoon. You know, he probably just wanted to go in for a minute. And it happened to go for 30 minutes. He's a nice guy. I already know the trick. I don't want to judge myself back. So then they're going to say, but he screamed at his wife, but he didn't really mean it. He was probably just, he had a high accent. He didn't actually mean to scream. Right? So you can get away with it. So the Beit HaLevi explains, and then they'll say, Atah Ish, you're the man. He says, oh, wow, I didn't know. Oh, good thing I judged carefully. I judged the cups of food. So the Beit HaLevi says, no. You know what the Baal Shem Tov says? He explains it with a little of a twist. He says, the Gemara Masechet Shabbat says, Hadan lechavero lekav zechut, danin oto lekav zechut. Someone who judges his fellow favorably is judged favorably as well. What does this mean? The Beit HaLevi says, when you're driving Friday afternoon on Avenue J and you see someone double parked and you judge him at that moment, you're actually judging yourself. Anytime you in life come to something that you're about to judge, it's actually not you judging someone else, but it's actually you judging yourself. So if you know this trick, right? So now you'll say, now I know this Beit HaLevi. So every time something happens, I'm going to judge favorably. Halavai. Because although you know this trick, that when something is happening in front of you, it's not easy to say right away, it's okay, he probably just tried to go in for a moment. The guy blocked my driveway. He probably didn't realize, or whatever else like that. It's in the moment of the matter, it's very hard. So that's what the Beit HaLevi says. A person judges himself with his knowledge and without his knowledge here on this earth, not just in the Shemayim. Not just when you get up there, they tell you come onto the court case, but rather here on earth as well. When you see your fellow man doing something and you judge, you're actually judging yourself. So I want to just take away this yesod, this idea. We talked about many times, and every time someone comes to you for tzedakah or for a chesed, you're actually not doing a chesed for them, you're doing a chesed for yourself. Because Hashem says, in order you need a chesed coming in your life. I want to see if you deserve it, so you have to go ahead and do it. That's why if someone comes over to you for a favor, you should never really say no. I mean, this is one or two exceptions, but other than that, almost all the time you should say yes and try to help the best you can. Because it's really because you need that chesed. The same thing here. Every time you have a chance to judge someone favorably, you should judge them favorably. Because if you don't, then you're actually judging yourself non-favorably. And so, now we have another understanding, a deeper understanding of what it says in the pasuk, B'tzedek tishpot amitecha. With righteousness, you should judge your fellow men. Abotai, don't fall into the pit of judging people negatively. And even if you know they're negatively, you know what the Gemara in Shabbat tells us? If there will be for someone but a single defending angel out of 1,000, then Hashem will be gracious to him and not punish him. That means one angel out of 1,000. And there the Gemara brings from Rabbi Eliezer that if there are 999 indicators of guilt, there are 999 reasons to say this person is guilty, but there is one reason to say he's innocent, Hashem goes with the one innocent reason. That means you do 1,000 and 1 times 1,000 means 1 of a millionth. If there's 1 of a millionth of a reason to judge someone favorably, a person is supposed to judge that person favorably. So that's in almost all of our cases. Unless you know someone is really rasha, who's really doing bad things, then you don't have to judge them favorably. But most people are fallen into the category of where they're not bad people. We're not living amongst the Sha'im. Therefore, if we see something, we should
say something.
You should say something good. Right? In Eretz Yisrael, one of the Rebbes, when he was living there, and he saw people going to the car on Shabbat, he would run after the car and say, Mazal Tov, Mazal Tov. Why? He said, why are you saying Mazal Tov? Exactly. He said if they're driving on Shabbat, it must be they're having a baby or something like that they're going in the car to the hospital. He wouldn't think for a moment that Shalom, someone's going to the beach on Shabbat and they need to drive. This is what it means to judge our fellows favorably. Okay, let's move on to our final lesson on this week's parasha. I mean, this parasha has so much to talk about, but due to time constraints, we're going to take a look. The pasuk tells us, "Umikdashi tirau." You have to fear Hashem's sanctuary, the Mikdash. Today we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, but we have what's called the Mikdash Me'at. This is our shul, our Beit Midrash, our Beit Midrashim, our yeshivot, our shuls, our synagogues. They're considered the small Beit HaMikdash. And you have to fear it. What does this mean? It means we have to respect the shul. First of all, this means we don't make this place our garbage dump. We don't throw things. Oh, I don't know what to do with my svarim in the house. Okay, just bring it to the shul, put it on the table. No one's going to see it. Get rid of it afterwards. It's not meant to be used that way. The shul has to be a place of kavod. You're walking into Hashem's house. A lot of times, you see kids running around the shul and parents screaming at them. Baruch Hashem, this doesn't happen here, but in other shuls. It's not the way to mechanech a child in the shul. The children, we know, look at their parents. What does the parent do? The parent's doing the right thing. The child's going to do the right thing. He's little now. He sees he's going to grow. He's going to do it as well. It's very important that we act correctly in the shul. The certain Talmud Chacham in Eretz Yisrael related the following story. He said, there's an Ashkenaz Talmud Chacham. He entered a Sephardic shul in a town located in the Galil. There was a few minutes till Mincha. So he said, I took a Gemara from the bookshelf. I settled myself into a comfortable position with my legs crossed in the shul. He put his legs crossed and he started learning the Gemara. He said immediately 2 members of the shul ran over to him and said, Hello. Where do you think you are? You think you're in a bar sitting with crossed legs? This is a shul. You don't sit in a shul with crossed legs. Baruch Hashem, by us Faradim, we have more respect for our synagogues than other groups of Jews. It should stay that way. Unfortunately, with a lot of mixing of it, it's a good thing, but also it takes away. But it's important that we continue to have that respect for our shuls. You come in, sometimes I see something on the floor, right away I pick it up. There shouldn't be any garbage sticking on the floor. During the winter, you have to wear the rubbers, the galoshes to come in through the storm. And then people just walk throughout the whole shul with their galoshes on, and the whole thing becomes wet. Would you walk in your house with your rubbers on from the outside? Probably not. Right? You wouldn't walk in with your rubbers. A little bit of respect. I don't know what you have to do here, but a little bit of understanding where I am, what I'm doing. A little bit of respect to the makom that we are. The way a person treats a shul is the way that Shemayim will treat his tefillot. Your prayers. You're coming to pray to Hashem. Says, let me see how you're behaving in my house. If you're behaving not nicely, Hashem doesn't listen to your prayers. You're coming to daven to me and you're not behaving in my house. Right? Someone comes to your house and wants to ask you for money. Meanwhile, he's breaking your chandeliers. Could I get money for you? It's like, get out of here. You're not going to give him anything. The same thing's true in the shul. When a person comes to the shul, he has to sit respectfully. He has to act respectfully. There's no screaming, there's no yelling in the shul, there's no throwing things. Once I was in a shul, people got into a fight, they were throwing water at each other over the table. I was like, what type of shul is this? I ran out of it. I ran out. I said, I'm not sitting here. I didn't go back there for a long time. Finally, I got back there. It looked spakoina again. It looked calm. But how can you have such a thing? People yelling, screaming. Once I was in a shul in Queens, the members of the shul were screaming at the rabbi in the middle.
What do you say about somebody blowing their nose?
So how do you blow your nose if you go to a guest's house? What do you do? What do you do when you go to someone's house and you have to either pass gas or you have to blow your nose? So you excuse yourself.
How do you feel telling somebody?
You have to tell them. You see, that's why you come to this class. You learn it. It's very hard. In the moment you can't tell because then they get very offended.
These days, there's many people that I realize, I'm saying like minority people, they don't have midot.
Right, respect, character traits.
they don't have. I mean, they're like, it's something you can't,
You can't teach. But if they came to these classes, they would hear it or listen to it. At least they would hear it. You have to have a little bit of respect. I know if I was somewhere, even nowadays when I'm home and I have to blow my nose really hard, I get up from the table, I go to the bathroom, I go to the side. You have manners, and you have to teach the kids that also. You have to tell them. One time my kids asked, "Why, Tati? Why are you going away from the table?" I said, "My nose is leaking. I don't want to blow it on the table. All the food is here. It's not respectful. Are you guys are sitting here?" And you go up.
It's noise. It's like a shofar.
The fact is, they went to ask Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. Someone walks into the shul and he sees the Sfarim all over the place, but he wants to learn. What should he do? Put the Sfarim away, or you should start learning? Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld said that if a person sees Sfarim just thrown out all over the place, before he can start learning, he needs to put the Sfarim away. I mean, you have to respect the books that you're learning from. And he would just pile them up everywhere in the place, I guess. Even other people's Sfarim he wrote. Before you sit down to learn, if you're sitting in that place and you see Sfarim in disgrace, I mean, if they're sitting nicely on the table, it's one thing. But like throw all over the place like that, a person should go ahead and put them together. Put them away. It's respect to the makom, respect to the Sfarim. I'm going to end off with one last story. I think the story I've shared in the past as well. The story was about he said like this. Rabbi Ezra Hamway, he was the Av Bet Din of Aram Soba, and one day he was listening to the Hazan saying the Amidah, repeating the Shemona Esrei, and he heard some laughter from the other side of the shul. And people were talking, everything going on in the middle of shul. So what did Rav Ezra Hemingway do? He said, during the drasha, he said over a story. He said, one day the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov met up. And the Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov, they said to each other, listen, why every time we're fighting for the same person, for the same thing? Let us make a division. Yetzer Hara, you get the theaters, you get the parks, you get the street corners, you get all these places. Let me take the Yetzer Tov says, let me take the Bet Midrash, the Bet Knesset, the Yeshivot, the Bet Yaakov. That's my place. Let's not fight anymore. When they're in this place, let them do mitzvah. When they're in that place, you got to do Amirah. Let's not fight anymore for the same thing. The two Yetzers negotiated, and they made an agreement. Places of entertainment belong to the Yetzer Hara. Places of Kedusha belong to the Yetzer Tov. And everything went well. And one day, the Yetzer Tov comes to the Bet Knesset to hear the prayers, and he sees sitting in the back is the Yetzer Hara. So he runs over to the Yetzer Hara. He says, hello. What are you doing here? We had an agreement. Shuls belong to me, the Yetzer Tov. Ana, look. Sefer Torah, Aron HaKodesh, Rabbi, Sfarim, Tefillin, Tzitzit. This is my place. This is the Davar Kedusha. This is a holy place. And the Yetzer Hara said to the Yetzer Tov, yes, you're right. It looks like a shul. It smells like a shul. But take 1 second and listen. Right over there, someone's talking business. Right there, someone is sharing Lashon Hara. Someone over there on Shabbat is talking about Divrei Cho. This is not a shul. This is Shoy Choneh. This is a tea house. Everybody's talking here. If so, then it belongs to me. Has v'shalom v'has v'chalilah. Do we want our mekamot kedoshot, our holy places, to belong to the Yetzer Hara? So as such, it is our responsibility to treat our holy places with respect. You want to teach your children to treat it with respect? You treat it with respect. You treat it with respect, they'll see it, they'll also do it. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be zochet to learn from these 3 lessons that we learned. Just to quickly review. Our first lesson was that Hashem gives us life every moment. Therefore, Our parents and Hashem say something, we have to follow Hashem over our parents because it's Hashem that gives us life every moment. Our second lesson was how we have to treat everybody, judge everybody favorably for the many reasons that we discussed. And our third lesson was a lesson to treat our holy places with the proper reverence and the proper respect that it deserves. And that way our tefillot will be accepted and Hashem will bring us. Hashem says, if you can take care of my small Beit HaMikdash, then you'll be zocheh to the real third Beit HaMikdash, the final one with Mashiach Tzidkenu. Today is Israeli Independence Day. The real Israeli Independence Day will be Be'ezat Hashem with the coming of Mashiach, with the Beit HaMikdash HaShelishi. That will be the day that we can get up and say to the whole world, look, this is what we have, this is who we respect, this is God, this is our temple, and we're going to do the service of Hashem, b'kedusha v'tahara. May we be zocheh to Mashiach Tzidkenu, b'mheinu b'yameinu, amen. Shabbat shalom, ekulam.